CSA time, 6:39, the Chris Duel Show. Here's what your kids want for Christmas, a video game called Manhunt 2. Manhunt 2 apparently takes the level of violence to a whole new level, more realistic, more graphic. Your kids can act out killing and torturing someone with tools like sledgehammers, shovels, and apparently Dr. Becky Whetstone, who by the way is in studio, it's the Chris Duel Show, with the use of this device that gamers use called the Wii. You put it in your hands, you can act out in front of the television screen the slashing, the way you would stab someone.
They're now getting some exercise while they're playing these video games. That's the bright side to that.
Well, and one video gamer, Jeffrey Sherman, is quoted in an article saying, this video game basically teaches kids how you kill someone. This is how you do it. Now, we'll grab some phone calls on video games, not only how they affect kids, but how they're affecting marriages. 599-5555, 800-299-KTSA. Dr. Becky Whetstone, I do not have a psychology degree, but I can pretty much bet if you pump enough images of violence into a child's head, if you glorify that violence, if you make that violence a game, make that violence a video game, and they have fun slashing and killing and torturing people and watching them die, it's fun. I gotta believe that can't be healthy, and I've got to believe there are some human beings, some kids out there, like Klebold and Harris, who did Columbine a number of years ago, who are going to model after this and want to do it in real life. What do you think?
Right. I mean, that's exactly right. I mean, but the thing is, of course, most kids, it will make them more aggressive. And I used to notice that with my own son. My son is 20 years old. He loves video games. But he's loved video games since he was a little boy. And he also used to watch violent cartoons and things like that. And I would always notice after he watched violent cartoons, a change in his behavior, so I stopped doing it. He would be more aggressive, he'd be impudent with me and more attacking, and so when he wasn't exposed to those things, then he'd be more calm. So I think it can affect kind of your adrenaline rush and, you know, your chemistry kind of thing. But as far as, you know, watching something like that and half of society becoming murderers and violence, I don't think that's...
And I'm not saying half of society, but...
No, I was using that to exaggerate.
Right.
I mean, I don't think we have to worry about that's what I'm saying. You know, I'm saying that I think that there are, in any society, you're going to have a certain percentage, a very small percentage, who have the propensity for violence, you know, psychosis.
But wouldn't you say there would also, in addition to that percentage, be kind of a fringe, borderline percentage who might not necessarily go there, but after playing this video game and glorifying and getting a rush and getting off on the murder day in, day out, playing in their basement, don't you think there's got to be a certain percentage of people it's going to push over the edge and have them act out in real life? It's
possible, but I would say this, and that kind of person, if it's not that thing, it's going to be something else. It's going to be, you know, a movie or a porno magazines or
radio show.
The Chris Duel Show, or the internet, something they find on the internet or something like that. So if it's not this, it'll be something else.
So you don't seem too worried about this from a psychological point of view as a professional. Bring it on. Are you getting Benjamin? You getting Benjamin Manhunt 2 for Christmas?
You know the way Benjamin does it? Because I ask my kids to give me a little grocery list, a Christmas list. And it'll be like, I want underwear, toothbrush, Manhunt 2.
So they'll conceal it a little bit.
He tries to
down
slip
the list
it in
a little
there.
bit.
He tries to slip it in there, and he thinks that I don't know what these things are. So what I say to parents, we have to be on the ball. You know, we need, if your child has something like Manhunt 2 on the list and you don't know what that is, just Google it, check it out, find out what it is, and then don't get it for them. You don't need to enable it.
CSA time, 6:48. The Chris Duel Show. Dr. Becky Whetstone in studio. She is, what's your official title? You are
Lordy.
You're a professionally licensed...
PhD, licensed professional counselor and marriage and family therapist.
Marriage being the operative word, family as well. And by the way, website drbecky.com if you'd like to learn more about Dr. Becky, see some of her sexy photos, or get in touch with her. DOCTOR Becky, Dr. Becky, spell out Dr. drbecky.com. All right, you said earlier, and I want to get into this, since we're talking about video games and this new violent video game, Manhunt 2, which is being released. You said video games are the new mistress for many men in marriages.
Yes.
Talk to me about why you say that.
I have noticed in my practice a lot of the younger couples that are coming in to see me. Now I'm talking late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, up to about 41, 42, and the wife is on the verge of divorce because the husband is spending every spare moment playing video games.
So a 40-year-old man or a 35-year-old man in a marriage, probably with kids, and it's not the kids who are the problem on the video games, it's him, it's the man, the husband?
No, the husband is foregoing family activities and not participating in the family, and he's playing video games, and he does it all weekend long. When if he's a 9 to 5 or Monday through Friday guy, he's spending his evenings, he comes home and does that, and then
hasn't he earned that right, Becky? He's out, he's the breadwinner, he's out working 9 to 5.
Are you assuming she's not the breadwinner?
No, I'm just saying, he's working hard, he's working for the man, and he comes home and it's the weekend. Can't he play a little Nintendo?
Look, a therapist is going to look at a marriage, and if someone's doing anything, whether it's video games or reading or drinking or smoking pot or watching internet porn, these are some of the things that come up in my office. If they're doing that and it interferes with their family life, their career, their life in general, then we have a problem. And the problem could be an addiction, actually.
Now, we've heard before about drinking. We've heard before about internet porn. I've never heard video games.
This is huge, and as you and I were talking on the break, I've noticed that these are the guys who grew up, like my son has grown up watching video games, and these guys, have been they started probably when they were, 8 or 10 years old or something. Now they're 28, now they're 35, now they're 40, and they're still doing it. These guys are going to spend their entire life, if someone doesn't stop them, playing video games every spare waking moment.
But what if they found a wife who likes video games? Couldn't you share the experience with your spouse? Honey, let's go play Manhunt 2. Let's break out of the insane asylum and torture some people.
No, obviously, if you got somebody who loves to do that with you and you want to sit and do that for hours, then you're not walking away from your family. Then you're interacting, and there's, that's okay if you both agree. But if you're playing the game with, you got the controls and you're in your trance doing that thing, and your spouse, it feels unsatisfied, feels like she's being neglected or ignored, you've got a problem. And the guys that come into my office, I tell them, you got to stop playing that video game. It's just flat out. You got to stop it.
How can they stop if they've been doing this? If they've been doing this since they were 8 years old?
Well, I will say
it's a part of who they are.
Well, I will say, let's wean you off like a little baby who needs to be weaned from his mother's breast. We wean you off. So let's go to, say, an hour and a half a night instead of 4 hours a night, and then down to an hour, and then 45 minutes, and then maybe half an hour a night, something reasonable, and then maybe down to 3 nights a week or something like that.
You're taking away the guy's chance to play video games.
What about relationship?
Well, that's important too. But I mean, you're taking him down to 3 nights a week at 30 minutes per video game session. That's pretty rough.
Look, and here's the thing. I have to, as a psychologist kind of person, I have to wonder, what is he escaping from? He's escaping from something.
Can't he just love it? Isn't it? What if it's his bliss? Some people like to jog or run marathons. Some people love golf.
But if
maybe this is his bliss. Maybe that activates whatever neurons fire in his brain. Maybe it's his favorite thing to do.
Okay, well, here's the thing. If men out there, listen up. If you are single and video game playing is your bliss, don't get married. Don't try to have a family. Just get an apartment somewhere, get a job, and go home and play video games from 6 p.m. till midnight, and then all weekend long. But don't mess up families.
You know that's not going to happen. You know that's impractical. You know these men are ultimately going to wind up in marriages, and I've said it before, the generosity of women never ceases to amaze me. As freaked out as these video-playing young men might be, there are going to be women out there who see it and know that they do it so often, and they should be able to understand that it's going to affect their marriage. They're going to marry them anyway, and they're going to wind up in your office and enriching you and paying you money for counseling, not just you alone, Becky Whetstone, but all sorts of other people as well. This is where psychologists make the money, because people are so messed up. And then at some point they go, oh man,
well,
I got to save my marriage.
Well, the women will tell me things like, I knew he played the video games, but I thought it was a phase, or I thought that I could get him to play less, or something like that. But and typically the wife will say, honey, I don't want you to play the video games that much anymore. And he doesn't listen, and he continues to play because it's kind of like an addiction. So that's why it's my role as the marriage therapist to look him square in the eye and say, stop playing video. He's got to hear it from the expert. There's something about the expert that they tend to listen to. I don't know what it is.
So you have cured people from the video addiction.
Well, I have begun the weaning process and got them to where it's a reasonable amount of playing. And the guys can do it. They can do it. They come back and the wife is smiling and the guy is saying, I did it. I only played 4 hours this week instead of 40.
You know, pharmaceutical companies are going to come up with a pill for this, so they can make tons of money and have some kind of a name for it, and then the happy couple at the very end, and then they'll give kickbacks to doctors, they'll make millions of money, and they'll get some muskrat and Abraham Lincoln to sell them. You know it's going to happen. More with Dr. Becky Whetstone coming up. KTSA Time, 6:50. Widespread. I mean, are you just getting a couple of people coming in for marriage counseling because of video, or do you think this is a national problem, a national epidemic that the rest of the country doesn't realize how many men in their 20s, 30s, and early 40s are addicted to video games and having an adverse effect on their marriage or relationship?
I think that this is a phenomenon. I think especially it's the age group, see, because I don't see it in like 45, 50, 60-year-old marriages, so, men in marriages. So it's in this age group couple, it is huge, it is prevalent, and I think something's going to happen. Some wife is going to kill her husband at the controls of a video game, and it's going to make national news, and then we'll start having a conversation
and
about
she can
it.
learn how to kill him really well by playing Manhunt 2, right. By the way. Great torture ideas there, great killing ideas, and you can really, you should make this your issue. You could be the first one to like go national. You could write the book on this, and then we'd see
I
you
could write a book, How to Wean Men from Video Games.
You'd be on Oprah, you'd be on Larry King, you'd be all over the place.
And what is the man's motivation? It's to have a relationship with his wife, with his family.
But not nearly as much visual stimuli as a video game in a relationship, is there?
Well,
you get to kill people, and you get to torture people in Manhunt too. You can't really do that to your family. They frown upon that. They'll lock you up for that.
Well, the wives are telling me that the husbands are going to have to choose between the video games or divorce court.
Words of wisdom.
That's a good motivator.
Yes,
right
it
there.
is. Dr. Becky, you can find her online at drbecky.com. You spell out doctor, or else you'll go somewhere else on the internet. Dr. Becky, always a pleasure. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks for having me.
Hey.